Hello, and welcome to Bullseye Research Training. My name is Allison Perry, and I work here in our sponsored research office at USF. You are attending this training because you are either a department-level reviewer or someone that may be routed a proposal, agreement, or award to review and either approve or request clarification. Our objectives for this session are for you to be able to navigate the Bullseye Research platform, to review a project, and to submit change or clarification requests from the PI. Now, this training is going to be a mix of presentation and demo style. So we'll start with showing you the steps in this presentation, and then we'll dive into the stage site to work out these processes in real time. So we're going to begin with logging in, then we'll move into managing your reviews. We'll go over some email notifications that you'll receive from the system and a practice assignment to help you get around and play with navigation. Now, there are going to be some new terms that you will see in this new system. The biggest change coming to us is that we will no longer be submitting proposals through the internal form. The internal form will now be housed in this new Bullseye research system. Now, an advance account is an underwrite. So again, we still use underwrites here at USF. They're just going to be titled something different. A smart form is an online form that contains a series of questions that are being answered. The administrative contacts are the URAs, FBAs, and department-based research administrators. There are two levels of department review, with the first level typically being a chairperson or equivalent, and the second level typically being a dean, associate dean for research, or equivalent. Now, each department has set their internal workflow, so this may look different depending on which department you work in. Certifying is now going to be signing off or approving the new internal form. This is not the same as certifying effort. So when a PI moves into Bullseye Research to certify, they will click on the Certify button and a pop-up will pop up, making sure that they're signing or acknowledging all of the rules and regulations related to research. The specialist is a sponsored research administrator, also known as an SRA within our sponsored research office. The designated reviewers are assistant directors of sponsored research. And the final reviewers are going to be grant financial administrators, also known as GFAs, located in our sponsored research office. Now, this is what the stage site looks like. So when you get to this page, you'll click Client Login, and it'll take you into the system. Now, once we go live, we'll log in differently, but this stage site is not going anywhere in the future. So if you ever want to log back in and utilize this stage site as a resource for you, please feel free to do so. Now, once we go live, depending on when you're watching this training, you will log into Bullseye Research directly from your My USF page. You'll navigate to the Business Systems dropdown, and everything is alphabetically ordered, so Bullseye Research should be close to the top. Now, anybody that logs into the system will land on a general dashboard. Now, depending on your role at the university, if you're an active PI or simply a reviewer is going to depend on what shows up in your inbox. Your inbox is going to show any project that's directly associated with you. Now, the My Reviews tab, those projects that you are routed a review for, will show up here once they are routed. You have your Recently Viewed tab and also a pinned option, which helps with easy navigation instead of having to search for items in the system. Now we're going to go over what it looks like to do a review, and then again, we will log into the system and show you in real time what it looks like. So when you log in and you have a review to complete, you'll click on that My Reviews tab and your review will show up here. Anything in blue writing is a direct link, so you would click on the funding proposal link and it will open a funding proposal workspace for you. Now we're going to go over how all these workspaces are organized when we get into the system. We're just showing you the general steps right now. So when you click on that link, it'll take you into the proposal workspace. Now, some of you here are ancillary reviewers, and some of our department reviewers may be routed their review as an ancillary review, which I'll mention in just a minute. So an ancillary review is one that's required from parties not related to the normal workflow. Now, anybody can assign these ancillary reviewers, but it's most commonly going to be assigned by an SRA or the URA or administrative contact. Now, the reason I say or is because if you have PIs that are working across departments, and the departments both need to provide their approval for this new internal form, that second department is going to perform their review via this ancillary review option. So I'll keep that in mind and I'll point out all of this when we get into the system. But just know that if you're a department reviewer, you may get some of these ancillary reviews. Now, an ancillary review can happen at any time of the proposal, award, or agreement workflow, but it's primarily done when we have compliance answers as yes. So when we need a compliance review done by Research Integrity and Compliance, whether that is IACUC, IRB, whatever it may be, we may need a review from tech transfer, legal. It just depends on the situational basis. Now, should I assign an organization or an individual person? If you assign an organization, it's going to route to anyone with permission from that department. Whereas if you assign an individual, it's going to route to that specific individual for their direct approval. Now, to assign an ancillary reviewer, which you may do, so if you are routed a proposal, say to Research Integrity and Compliance, and you need somebody else to view this proposal as well, this is how you would assign that reviewer. So you would click on the Manage Ancillary Reviews action item, and a smart form opens. Again, a smart form is just an online form where you're plugging in the answers to questions. Now, this is where you would designate that organization or person, the review type, and if their response is required or not. Now, if you designate a response is required, it's going to stop that proposal from being able to be submitted. It will stop that award from being able to be activated. So it's going to affect the workflow of the project that you're working on. Now, anybody logging in to review a proposal, whether you are an ancillary reviewer or department reviewer, is going to select this Review Funding Proposal button. Now, the internal form will open, or the smart forms where that research team filled in information, and there are comment bubbles all over the place. Now, if you leave a comment for the research team, it's going to turn orange, and if you designate a response, it's going to add a little red icon to the top of it. Now that's going to stop the research team from being able to resubmit until they answer that required response, which we'll go over again when we get into the system. Now, as you're working through these pages, there's a spot to mark your progress so that you know what you've reviewed and what you still need to review. To review a budget, you'll navigate to the budget and click on View Budget. However, there are no comment bubbles, so you can either log your comments here or when you submit the review. Now, to submit an ancillary review, you'll select the Submit Ancillary Review button. You'll make sure that this is correct. And number 2 is going to be your approval or not. So if you are asking questions or requesting clarification, you're going to want to make sure to put no here. And you're going to want to make sure to put no in number 3 as well. Now, if you select yes and give your approval, number 3 is going to clear it from your queue. So if you don't want it to show up in your dashboard anymore, you'd select yes. If you'd still like to review that submission in the future, you'd want to select no here. And again, you could add any comments. So this is where you might add some comments about the budget and any documents as needed. Now, they can check your progress. So anybody that's performing in a review is going to show up in this Reviewers tab. And if it's an ancillary review, it will show up underneath the reviewers as well. Now, if you are a department reviewer, there are going to be 2 options for you. So you have an approve button, which approves that proposal and pushes it to the next level of review, or you have a request clarification button, which again will ask those questions and clarification to the research team. So now that we've talked about all of this hypothetically, we're going to hop over to the stage site, and we're going to do some of this in real time. Now, I've already been working in the system today, so I did not get to the white screen, but you would click Client Login, and then it takes you to this User Impersonation screen. Now, all of you have been uploaded with the capability to be someone else in this system because in order to perform certain activities, you have to have certain credentials. So you can see here that all of these users have been uploaded with different accessibility or different items that they can do. So if I want to be John Johnson, I will click impersonate next to his name. This page is organized by last user login. So you're just going to want to make sure that you search by first or last name to find the user you'd like to impersonate. Now, if you'd like to be yourself, you have to click on this continue without impersonation option and it will log you in as yourself. So we're going to start by logging in as a department reviewer and we're going to select impersonate. Now this is the general dashboard, and you can see we have been using John Johnson's profile for training and testing purposes, so he has a lot of proposals that are attached to him. Now, if I want to view the reviews that are actively waiting on me, I'll click on my reviews, but before we do that, I just want to show you this pin toggle. So if you select this icon, it's then going to organize these projects in this pin tab, which will help you with easy navigation. So we're going to select my reviews, and we can see that all of these proposals are in the department review state and are waiting on my review. So I'm going to select this one. And this is a funding proposal workspace. Now there are several different workspaces that we're going to look at today, and all of them are organized similarly. So you have all of your action items or things that you can do over here, and you have a bunch of important information that you can find about this proposal in the middle. You have a funding proposal ID that was generated for us. Now, any funding proposal that was submitted in the last 24 months will be uploaded as is with its unique ID into iResearch. So this is only going to be the ID generated for proposals created after the go live date of May 6th. Now, this blue box tells you which workspace you're working in. So we'll see funding proposal, project budget, and award workspaces today. You have your funding proposal's name in the middle, along with some important information. Now, this budget reflects 0 just because I haven't edited the budget, but typically when this budget was filled out, you'd see the values to reflect the information that was input. Now, before we go in and review, I just want to point out a few other key characteristics on this page. So you could add a comment, and this is going to log a comment for anybody associated to the proposal to see. You could also attach some documentation. You can send an email. Now this is going to be the subject. You could select people that are directly associated with this proposal or anybody at USF. You could search by first or last name or the department, depending on whatever information you had. The body or content of your email is going to be in these comments sections. So this is where you're going to want to include the information for the recipient to read. And then again, you can add any documentation as necessary. You can add an attachment. You can make a copy of this funding proposal. Now, if you make a copy of it and rename it, you're going to want to make sure that you send an email so that this URA can link it as a related project. Now, you could manage tags, and this is going to add a tag to the specific type of research being performed. You could manage the ancillary reviews, which we'll do in just a minute, and I'm not going to click these because we're going to use these in just a minute as well. Now, to view a budget, you'll want to click on this link and you'll select view budget, or you can view the budget as a printer version. Now, a printer version is just going to condense it into a PDF that's easy to print. And again, you cannot leave comments on this form directly, so you'll have to make sure you leave detailed notes so that the research team knows what clarification is needed. Now, once you're in this budget workspace, there's a direct link to the funding proposal here, and the system also tracks your train of navigation, so you can find that link up here in the left as well. Some other information that we have a history tab, and this is one of those key pieces of transparency we've really been pushing about this new system. So this is going to log any activity that's been performed, so we can see that this proposal was created by myself today. We can also see that it was submitted for department review by, again, myself on the date and time. And so this is just going to make sure that it clears up any confusion about what's happening, and you're no longer having to search through emails or however you've recorded your correspondence related to this proposal. Everything is recorded here for us. So if anybody has questions, they'd click on this tab and they know exactly who to contact related to their question. Now, this reviewers tab is going to track the department level reviewers. And when we add an ancillary review, it's also going to add it here as well. So we can see right now we're in current step 1, which means we're waiting on John Johnson's approval for this proposal. And we're at step 2, we'll know that we're waiting on Randy Larson's approval, excuse me. Now the financials are going to reflect 0 for now, but once we had input a budget, these values would reflect here as well. And then we'll look at reviewer notes in just a minute. So in order to log in and review, you would log in just like we just did, and you would select Review Funding Proposal. Now this is going to look the same even if you're routed a review via ancillary review. So you can see these comment bubbles are on a page as a whole, so that will leave a comment for this entire form. And the comments next to individual questions will leave a comment about that specific answer. Now, as you work through this smart form, if you select this, the page turns green, and it also marks your progress here on the left as well. So we're going to leave a couple comments just to show you what it looks like. So we might put missing bio sketch. And we're going to designate ourselves as the department. We would say response required, and when we select OK, it logs our comment and that a response is required here. Now, when you close this out, you can also see that that red bubble designates that a response is required. So if we leave a comment that's not required, we would still designate it as department. But when we select yes, there is no required response, and you can see that there is no red bubble on the top. So you would work through this proposal, selecting as you usually do, marking your progress, asking for any clarification. Now, a lot of this process is going to be internal, so however you are used to reviewing on the internal form, you can still do that in here. We're just showing you everything that this system has to offer. So when we select exit, we're going to request changes, but we can also see our reviewer notes were left here as well. So we can see exactly which smart form it was left on and which question. Now, the research team can either view your notes here, or they could go in and view the funding proposal here. So we're going to select this request changes button, and you can see exactly how many of those comments you left. If you wanted to leave a comment, you could. And again, you can add any documentation as needed. Now, when we send it for clarification, this is going to move to the clarification requested portion of our workflow. And we can see that the state is now response pending from PI. So this orange box is really just going to give us a snapshot of what's happening right now with our proposal, whereas this workflow map is going to track where you are and where you're headed next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add an ancillary review just for you to see. That way I don't have to make you all dizzy. So we're going to add this first, manage ancillary reviews. We will click add. Now, this is where you would designate the organization or person. So if you are an organization, this will route to anybody in IT with the capability or credentials to sign off on this proposal. Whereas if you add an individual person, which we'll do now, it has to be checked by Allison Perry. So I searched by first name, we're going to add myself. So this is where you might see this chair dean approval. So if it's 2 departments, like I mentioned, this is how we would designate that it's another department review. And we would select response required because we need that approval from that department. Now you might put second department review, whatever it was. Now this is what's going to be sent to you. So you won't necessarily be adding yourself, but this is what's going to get sent to you. So we would select OK. And now we can see that this ancillary reviewer has been added. So we're going to select OK. And now when we click on the Reviewers tab, we can also see that this ancillary reviewer has been added as well. So we're going to move in and we're going to complete the ancillary review first. So I'm going to continue without impersonation because I'd like to be myself. And I'm going to click on the My Reviews tab. And we can see that this review is waiting for me, and we can also see the state. So we're going to select this. Now, again, we would move through this funding proposal just like the department reviewer did. So we would view the funding proposal, we would leave comments as necessary, and all of our comments would show up here in this reviewer notes tab. Now to submit the ancillary review, you're going to click submit ancillary review. Do you accept? This is going to be my approval or not. So if I'm asking questions or requesting clarification, I would select no here. If I'm ready to go and ready to give my approval, I will select yes. And again, number 3 is going to be removing it from your queue or not. Now, if you ever have questions and there's these little help bubbles, if you click on them, they'll give you help. So again, selecting no is going to keep the review open, and it's going to leave it in your dashboard for further review. So we'll select OK. Oh, I forgot to actually click yes, so we'll select OK. And then when we click on this Reviewers tab, we can see that this review has been completed. Now, any notes that I left would show up here in this Reviewers tab as well. So I do want to show one more thing before we jump back into the proposal as our URA. This history is being created for us. So again, it's being added. So I showed you before, we just had this created and submitted. Now we have that John Johnson wants some clarification. He added an ancillary review and I submitted my ancillary review. So again, everything is being tracked here. So we're going to switch users and we're going to become the URA for just a minute, just so that you can see how this works. So we're going to become Rachel Clark. I think I created this proposal, excuse me. So we're going to continue without impersonation. We're now going to click on our proposal. And if I go to submit changes, before I respond to those required responses, it's going to give me an error message and I'm not going to be able to. So I have to close. I can either view your notes here in this reviewer notes section, but in order to respond, I have to go into the funding proposal and I can see exactly where your comments were left. So I would click on the one that's required, reply. And then once we log my comment, you can see that the red required response bubble goes away. So now we can submit this back to you for department review. Now notice how all of this information can be edited as well. So I know that if you're a department reviewer, a lot of our PIs have had some worry that they're not going to be able to edit. And as long as it's in that clarification requested state, they can still be editing in real time. So when we exit, they can still be editing all of this information. Now, when you're reviewing, they're not going to be able to edit. So it has to be in this clarification requested state, or you have to put it in this state. So we'll always reach out before we submit to the sponsor, but we want to make sure that the team can continue editing. So we would then submit changes to department. You will get a notification that they've been submitted. Same thing with the ancillary review. And then we would send it again to be reviewed. So you would view the funding proposal if you needed to again, or so if we switch users and log back in as the reviewer, John Johnson, if it's ready to move on, you would select this approve, add any comments or documents as needed, and then it moves to that second level of department review. So when we click on this reviewers tab, we're now at step 2, and we can see that we're waiting on Randy Larson to approve. So now that we've viewed the funding proposal, I know that some of you are department reviewers, so this would be it for you. If you are a department reviewer, you are just going to be reviewing these funding proposals. Now, if you are an ancillary reviewer for compliance reasons, I just want to show you what an award workspace looks like so you know how to complete those reviews. So you will navigate to an award. Let's have one that's in the draft state. And you would select View Award, fill out your comments as necessary, and then you would select either, you would do your ancillary review. So you would submit and either say that you approve and it's completed, or you need some more information. So if we check this Reviewers tab, We can see the designated reviewers, so the reviewers related to the award. And if we added an ancillary review, it would show up here just like in the funding proposal workspace. Now you have a direct link to the funding proposal. So if you needed to view that information, you could always follow this train of navigation as well. So now that we've viewed an award and a proposal, I do want to view an agreement just to show you the workspace for those ancillary reviewers. So we would select the agreements, navigate to the agreement that we would like to focus on, and then you would again click view agreement and then submit ancillary review. Yes, is it ready to go? No, and you need some clarification, and you have your own tab here. So because there's not necessarily set reviewers, it's going to be this ancillary reviews tab. So if we added any ancillary reviewers, they would show up here. So now that we've gone over all the different workspaces and types of review, we're going to move back into our presentation. And I want to go over the email notifications that you're going to see. So this is the email notification that you will receive when you have something to review as a department reviewer. If you are an ancillary reviewer, you'll get a notification that you have something to review as well. Now, this is a direct link. So I told you that you could log in through My USF. You could click directly on this link. It'll take you through the authentication, and it will log you in directly to this workspace of whatever ID is included here. So again, if you have an ancillary review routed to you, you will get a notification as well. If you have submitted any requests or changes, whether that's questions or clarification from the team, you'll get a notification once they've answered those requests so that you have something to review again. So what's really nice about this system is you don't have to constantly be checking. You're not going to get an email that says, hey, it's been 3 weeks. Why haven't you done this? It's going to be a notification every time you have something to review. So it's a reminder for you to go in and view this. Now, if you send or receive an email from the system, this is what it will look like. So again, that content or the body of your email will show up in this comment section. And this will be the link from wherever you clicked that send an email button. So if this was an award workspace, it would be an award ID. It just depends on where it was actually sent from. Now we have included a guide. So it is an assignment. There is no due date, but we want you to get in and become familiar with these new processes. So it is a guide. It tells you who to log in as and what buttons to click in order to set up a proposal to route for your review. Now, another way that you could test this out is you could get together with some of the PIs you're used to working with or the SRAs within our central office and have them route a few things for you to review. That way you can play around and get ready for go live. Now, depending on when you are watching this video, we may have already gone live. But as I mentioned, this stage site is not going away. So if you're wanting to train before you get into the go live environment, you are always going to have accessibility to this stage site. Now, just a reminder that the stage site is always going to be a testing environment. It's enclosed. So if you click submit, it's not actually submitting. You cannot mess anything up. And if you do have questions, please reach out to us using this Teams chat. So this Teams chat is a link to myself and a few other key team members. And it's a really quick turnaround. So it's how we answer your questions the quickest. So if you have questions, please reach out to us using that Teams chat. So what is next? So again, depending on when you are watching this training, some of this may have already passed, but we have a couple more weeks of these campus-wide trainings. The live ones are starting to not happen anymore. They have already passed and gone. So that's why we have these recordings uploaded. So if you know that anybody will benefit who hasn't taken training, please send them to this link. May 6th is our go live date. We're very, very excited. And during the week of and week before, we're going to offer office hours twice a day. So these are direct Teams links, which you can find in that PowerPoint link. This will take you directly into a Teams meeting with myself just to ask questions. If you want a demo, if you'd like to run some business process questions by us, whatever it is, we're here to support you. Now, I do manage our CRA Basic and Advanced courses. CRA Basic is going to go live again on May 1st, and CRA Advanced will go live again on June 1st, along with providing the university any post-go live support as needed. Now, that Bullseye Research website where you navigated to this recording has a lot of other resources for you. You have these here on navigation videos. They're short, 1 to 3 minutes, that just help you with getting used to the new platform. So whether it's dashboard navigation, creating a proposal, again, just very short, very sweet videos on just how to navigate the new platform. We've also provided you a lot of these training recordings along with fact documents. So look at those frequently asked questions documents if you have any questions. Now, if you do have questions, just a reminder, my name is Allison Perry. My email is allisoncondon@usf.edu, and you can contact me directly there. If I don't know the answer to your question, I will make sure that it gets in front of someone who does have an answer for you. And just a reminder that you can also contact us using that Bullseye Research Teams chat. I just want to thank everybody for their time today. We know that you are such an important part of research happening here at USF. We are very excited for the go live date and just want to make sure that we provide you any support that is needed through this transition to Bullseye Research. The last thing that I would like to point out is just a quick survey. So if you scan this QR code, it's just to make these trainings better in the future. With that being said, I just want to say thank you one more time. And as always, go Bulls.